you guys, this is Nicole from My Carolina Garden, and I am so thrilled to have you for my June garden tour. I got my cup of sunshine ready to take you with me. I am in zone 8B in southeastern North Carolina. As we're going through my garden today, just keep in mind that it has been really hot here. Our days have been in the 90s and we have not been getting rain. We haven't gotten a good rain now in weeks. So the plants that I select for my garden are with those things in mind, because that is very typical for our summers. Very hot, not a lot of rain, and so I need really heat and drought tolerant plants. Right here, even in my waterfall, I had selected the Mandevilla as the new plant selection for inside, and look how amazing these guys are doing. And they are not even included in my irrigation system. One of the things I have been so excited for are the blooming of my perennial hibiscus. I have 3 varieties to show you today. All of them have blooms, so I'm super psyched to be able to show you all of them. If we start along the poolside gardens today, you can see already 2 of the perennial hibiscuses of the 3 that I was talking about that I am so psyched that are blooming right now. This is the Copper King, and this is the largest flower that I have. So this one is about 9 inches in diameter for each bloom. And look, you can see how many buds are just on this plant. It's freshly blooming, so we only have a few flowers right now to show. And then down here, all the way to here, is my Luna Rose tropical hibiscus, where we began, with a little bit smaller blooms, but dynamic, beautiful, rich color. I'm not going to show you every single thing in my secret garden on the other side of this plant line, because I did an in-depth video showing you all of those things. So you can jump back to the secret garden video if you want to see everything in detail. But I'm going to go over things lightly because we have way more than just the poolside garden. I have my blanket flowers here, which I love my blanket flowers. This one that reseeded in the cracks for me here because it is such an aggressive cedar. I love them for the color though, and they're certainly seasonal and appropriate for a coastal area like this. So my perennial hibiscus is going to end up getting much taller than it is right now. So when we do an August garden tour, you're going to see this baby has climbed a couple of feet at least. So I have my succulent garden down here, which is doing very well. I love hens and chicks like the most. They are easy to grow. They are cold tolerant. They stay out throughout the winter, and I used to have a very gorgeous selection of hens and chicks when I lived in the north in New York, and they also did beautifully. So depending on, check your labels always when you're buying succulents, but a lot of them are cold tolerant, which is super duper cool. My banana trees, these guys do multiply with pups that you can dig out and put into other places. So I do recommend this. Again, it is a cold tolerant plant. When I say hardy, I believe it's hardy to zone 4, something like that. It's so wonderful to be able to have that kind of a tropical vibe in so many different locations. So, all right, let me just grab a sip of sunshine before we keep going. So this right here is a tropical hibiscus that I am keeping as a perennial. I wanted to point it out because it's the only tropical that I have actually inside the ground, and we're already nearing the end of June at this point, and you can see this baby's pretty small and certainly no flowers or buds on it yet. So when I, here in zone 8, keep a tropical hibiscus as perennial outdoors, it gets a very late start. This is my sago palm right here. This here is my gorgeous oleander. I love this so much. It is really shaped into a tree at this point. It's a little bit hard to tell from this angle, but we have just some plain trunk for a bit of time, and then we have all of this branching. This is the 2nd year I've had it, and it is growing so much just in this short period of time. But the way that this pink is a little bit more delicate than the Luna Rose Hibiscus, which is a little more magenta, I love these two things near each other. And then I've mentioned before how I like to spray paint all of my, or a whole bunch of my garden decor to really go together and match each other. So my blue flamingo just plays off of these colors so gorgeously. I love it. When I come in this direction, I have a concrete bench that I have had for so many years that is looking weathered and worn and awesome right here. But I'll tell you, these blanket flowers want to have the spotlight. So they have grown, they seated themselves underneath the bench, and I'm just letting them grow and poof out and be as awesome as they want to be. But my gorgeous bench is still here waiting. Popping onto my blue gorgeous boardwalk over here, that's part of my secret garden. I just wanted to show you from the back side of where my beautiful oleander and perennial hibiscus is. I do have my Bengal tiger canna lilies. Canna lilies, if you've been with me for a while, you know are one of my most favorite plants. But the reason why I love the Bengal tiger is because of this gorgeous variegated foliage. It is just simply outstanding even without the orange blooms, but throw the orange into this colorful mix that I already have happening, I love it. I also have to really chuckle at the fact that I have some beach balls laying on the ground here on my boardwalk because we use them over the weekend, and literally when a breeze comes, the beach balls get picked up out of the pool and tossed around, and here they end up as like little garden decor. Again, without going into tons of detail and depth about every single thing I have planted here, I certainly have canna lilies. I have my caladiums that are here. They're still doing okay. I had mentioned when I purchased them, they didn't have tags to tell me exactly what kind of light exposure they wanted, so I didn't know how much sun would burn them up or how much shade would wreck their coloring or who knows what. They're doing okay for now, so we're going to continue to see what happens there. Multiple varieties of canna lilies over here. This is a funny planter to me. So I have a Croton Petra, I believe it's called, inside this pot right here. This doesn't stay out in my landscape for the winter, so this was in the greenhouse. Well, it's funny because I bring this planter back outside. I certainly have some weeds in here, so we can see those. But this right here, you may think at first glance that these are weeds, but you know what I realize these are? This is the Dragon's Breath Celosia. So it's going to have that gorgeous wispy Muppet hair looking like vibrant red style flower that comes on it. I have had the Celosia, the Dragon's Breath, reseed itself for me in other places as well, and it shocks me every time because it really is an annual plant and it does not like the winter, but its seeds, I guess, are protected just enough that when they're ready to burst out, they do. Found them in this pot, so I will be looking forward to that later in the summer as well. This is the Starry Night perennial hibiscus. This is my first flower that has opened up on the plant this season, so yay, perfect timing. Now, if you take a look at this bloom and I put my hand next to it, I think I measured this is going to be about 7 inches or so on here. We're talking about huge, gorgeous hibiscus flowers, and these plants are hardy to zone about 5. So that means they are cold tolerant, and you get to have plentiful, huge blooms in your garden. Who wouldn't want this? Have we taken a look at this gorgeous banana tree grove, if you will? Look at how huge my banana trees have gotten. So these are just hardy bananas. They are pretty standard. They do not grow edible bananas, by the way. They do grow ornamental ones, however. I'm 5'4". I don't know how tall you think that is, but it's really tall. And now there are so many in here just making more and more babies that I have like a gorgeous little wall of privacy. I don't know, this just screams tropical and I love it. It was a design choice for me to make the gardens around my pool very tropical. I just felt like I live in North Carolina. I want to embrace the weather we have here. We have sandy soil here on the coast that is both a blessing and a curse. It can be a blessing because it does help things to drain very well. It can also be a curse. We do lack a lot of nutrients here, so I'm continually trying to add nutrients and amend my soil to make everything just burst and be super vibrant. So even though things like I have Dipladenia and Mandevilla and the canna lilies and the caladiums and all of that, which are super tropical plants, that is basically this area of the yard. But I still have so much more in other spots, and they are not tropical in nature at all. So I'd like to take you to another area. So if we follow the pathway behind the pool through the Secret Garden boardwalk, we end up coming out onto this pathway here that goes in front of the greenhouse and continues. So that's the way we're going to walk. I do want to point out again, if you were with me in the beginning when I first got my greenhouse, you will remember that I had some major wind problems with the kind of greenhouse that I got. Now this was a Harbor Freight purchase, and I loved the size of it. It's amazing. The look of it, I also really like. But the problem is the way that the kit comes as it stands, it is not resistant to basically anything, particularly wind. We get tons of coastal wind here, and the panels on this just kept blowing out. So if you see the chicken wire to the outside, we were looking for something that was going to contain the panels, so every time the wind blew, we didn't have to worry about going down the street chasing after our greenhouse panels. So that's the look for now. I am not sure if we'll do anything better or not, because it has done its job. But this is the way I would like you to follow me to the pathway here. So you are currently nestled in my little grove of banana trees. But if we follow the pathway from the greenhouse past the banana trees, we have our privacy wall of arborvitae, which are doing pretty well. I think they're probably about 5 years old now, but they are getting big and they are awesome. But getting even further is where my rock garden is, and that's the part I'm really looking forward to showing you. The reason the rock garden is so special to me is because we had to cart in every single one of these boulders that are over here in it. Now, that's like an actual feat here in coastal North Carolina, because we do not have any rocks here at all. So we have gone to great lengths getting rocks from many different locations, different friends, family members, all sorts of things, people who have plentiful rocks on their properties, and we just simply don't. And since I love them so much and my friends and family are so nice to me, this is what I have been able to do. So I have some glorious plants to go along with my rock garden, and they each kind of show each other off. The red salsa sombrero coneflower is probably one of the things that is looking like the best right now. So I just want to show her off. But the sunshine ligustrum is also a pretty powerful color at this stage, so I'm loving that. My black-eyed Susans, I mean, they're all budded up, but I can see the yellow tips right here just about to open up, so we're just slightly too early for that. You may see throughout the rock garden, I do have some brown irrigation lines still showing. That's because we literally just placed it in there, and it's kind of was like, okay, does this look like a good route? Or how do we feel about how things are going? In terms of how the irrigation goes, we have like one main large tube, I believe is 1/2 inch, and then we have all these smaller ones which are 1/4 inch, kind of branching off to make sure that everything gets enough water. So this was just one of the last pieces of irrigation that we put in here, and I just have to bury it and all of that good stuff. We added additional height to our fence line using what we call privacy screens. They are just 3 like composite screens with a cool design on them. We ordered those from Wayfair, and then my husband just built the framing that the panels went inside of. That is what our wisteria has latched onto and kind of goes in and out of and everything else. So we have made a glorious wall over here that just is, oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. I can see, now there's a huge bumblebee right here on this wisteria, but you can probably see, hopefully you can see, that I have some purple flowers still happening. So even though the wisteria is not nearly as glorious as it was in April, it still looks so good. So just a quick overview, since I do show this area a lot. My pink dahlias, which are so sweet and precious. My head planter, she really just has the cascading sedum and the creeping Jenny in her. I opted for no colorful flowers because I just felt like this almost looked hair-like as it was, and everything just seemed to be so good and happy. I didn't want to mess with it by adding in anything else, but my head planter is one of my favorite things. Many more blanket flowers here. This is the Speedwell. So what are you called specifically? Sunny Border Blue Speedwell. So that's what this is here. So again, we have some pretty cool color combinations, I feel like, happening going in this direction. More of the cascading sedum down below. So I have it as a ground cover, have it as a pot draper, lots of cool things to do with that. This is Dianthus. Everybody knows at this point, Dianthus is also one of my favorite flowers. There are many, many, many varieties of Dianthus, so that's just one of them. But it's, again, the really rich color that is long lasting. So here in zone 8, we start out with that in the early spring. I haven't had this one in particular long enough to know if it's going to be evergreen, but I'm thinking it will be, and the flower abundance will just die back during the colder months. I don't actually even know what this is. My cousin Michelle gave this to me. Michelle, where are you? So it's silly because other people are probably like, well, that's clearly such and such. It looks great, adding more colors, and I feel like it works really well because it's like a purpley pink. I have some ornamental pepper right here that is super purple. The Speedwell there is like a blue purple. Clearly, you can see where I'm going with all of that. Now definitely stick with me because I want to share with you something else that I originally did not know what it was, and it turned out to be one of my most favorite weeds. If we go directly across the way here from the area we just were, we didn't exactly mirror the privacy screen design, but we sort of did something like it. So these privacy screens are the same exact pattern as those, and this time we just have 2 instead of 3, and we have a crepe myrtle, which will be flowering probably July and August as our center focal point. Over here, I really wish they were in bloom. I was so close. Let me show you what I have happening. I have a lot of lilies happening right here. So I have daylilies, I have tiger lilies, and I have stargazer lilies. The tigers and the stargazers are going to start bursting open at any moment. So I was hoping they were going to make this tour, but alas, here we are. However, you see this color right here? This means the stargazer is about ready. So super close. The stargazer is my favorite lily. It's gorgeous, the color's beautiful, but it also smells beautiful. I like the stargazer, lilies in particular, but I like the stargazer to put inside of a vase inside the house as a cut flower because that smell just kind of wafts around the room and everybody knows there are fresh flowers inside. So I wish it was here to show you, maybe next time. My cold weather flower pot is still hanging in there despite these crazy hot temperatures. So the mums and the ornamental kale. This is the one thing I did want to show you that I kind of forgot about when I said I had 3 types of perennial hibiscus in my yard. I actually have 4 because this is also a perennial hibiscus. Now this one is called the Texas Red Star, I believe, and the flower buds are all the way up at the top. What I wanted to point out was how super tall this is. 1 year, I put it in the ground in the fall. I just had no idea how tall it got. I'm really glad I had the space for it and I put it against the fence line so this way it was the tallest thing in case I want to put something in front. This one is budded, not yet blooming, but this one should be like a totally different, literally like a star, a red star shaped flower. So I will look forward to showing you this one in the future. I would like to just end over here. It is beside my pool, but it's in a spot that we didn't look at this morning. I would love to point out this weed of mine that has grown into something beautiful. It had creeped into my yard. I thought it was a rose of Sharon. I planted it beside the pool. It turned out that's not what it was at all. It is something called an Eastern Baccharis, and it likes kind of wetlands and marshy areas and that sort of thing. And it makes great sense because, well, first of all, I live right at sea level here in coastal North Carolina where I am, but all around my property I have those drainage swales, and in particular one in the back that doesn't ever really dry out. So this baby seems to be right at home living on my property. And then I have more of my overwintered Mandevilla or Dipladenia. I'm not even quite sure because this one wants to stand up, those want to drape down, and that's kind of one of the main differences between the two plants. But I'm loving all the colors, and again, that tropical vibe is just something that I'm definitely after. I love seeing everybody's gardens, and I love talking about gardening ideas. So I appreciate comments and feedback and all of that you give me. Thank you so very much for all of that support. I do hope that you loved my June backyard garden tour, and until next time, happy planting.